All right, guys, we are live. We are live. Sorry for the delay. We had some technical issues that we had to figure out, and we got them figured, and here we are. Sorry about that, guys, but we got a lot to talk about. Welcome in, everybody. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, today I just want to get to this right out of the gate. So we'll get to some hellos and some awesome folks in the super chat community and the members here in a second. But Zack, the NFL.com's, who was it? Nick Shook ranked kind of as a retrospective. Here's the final quarterback rankings of 2025. Bo Nix checks in as a quote unquote tier 3 quarterback at number 18. What do you make of that, my brother?
Well, I can't stop shaking my head, and I could go on a rant, Chad. It's a lot of what I've been saying since Bo Nix was drafted. It's crazy that he's disrespected like this. If he walked on water, his critics would say it's because he couldn't swim, yada, yada. I've said it a billion times before, and it's true about him. It's a little disheartening that it's still happening, and I put it out there on Twitter. There are not 17 better quarterbacks compared to Bo Nix, who took his team, Chad, to the doorstep of the Super Bowl. If he didn't get hurt, the Broncos would have been in the Super Bowl, and you never know, they could have won the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying he's top 5. I'm not saying he's the best in the NFL, but to say he's 18th, I haven't heard slander like this since Pro Football Focus. It's insane, but unfortunately, it's all too familiar.
Let me ask you guys this. Tell me if this sounds like the 18th best quarterback in the NFL. You ready? All right. He ranks 8th in passing yards with 3,931, does Bo Nix. He ranked 10th in touchdown passes with 25. In his second season as a pro, the Broncos co-led the NFL in wins with 14. They tied the franchise single-season record, by the way, in wins. They dethroned the precious Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West, secured the number 1 playoff seed. Bo Nix outdueled Josh Allen in the divisional round of the playoffs, and basically had his team set up for a Super Bowl berth before the freak injury. Does that sound to you, Zack, like the 18th best quarterback in the league? It's a joke, dude.
He wasn't even number 18, Chad, before the season. I think he was already in like the 14, 15 tier. So to knock him down, and they ranked him, what was it in the article? I think 20 this time last season for 2025. Bo Nix, to only move him up 2 spots considering the season that he had. And look at some of the other quarterbacks that are ahead of him. I don't have it pulled up. I might be wrong, but Caleb Williams, I think he's number 10. He's substantially higher than Bo Nix, and Bo Nix took his team further. But Caleb Williams is the sexier name. For whatever reason, not you, I shouldn't say it about anyone here, but they hear the name Bo Nix, and their immediate reaction, their automatic reaction is to spew something negative. If they would hear the name Caleb Williams or Drake May, their inclination would be to say something positive. It's pretty sickening.
Well, it's funny you say that, because the same people who will dock Bo Nix, hand out some demerits because, he's a product of Sean Payton, Sean Payton's made him what he is. I don't see those same people saying that about Caleb Williams because of Ben Johnson, right? Or Jordan Love and LaFleur, and the list goes on and on. We got to get to the bottom of this, because, Zack, I don't think it's really just the Bronco bias. It's a genuine Bo Nix bias. And do we boil it down to all the pre-draft 2024 takes that he was a day 2 guy that was overdrafted? I mean, at this stage, I just have a hard time believing that could be true because of all the good that he has done as a young pro. Like, the number of wins, the number of yards, the touchdowns. I mean, he's in elite territory. There's only him and 2 or 3 other quarterbacks that have ever done anything close to what he's done through their first 2 years. So how do you explain it? It's beyond me.
What pisses me off, though, Chad, is we should be talking about the Broncos either being in the Super Bowl right now or winning the Super Bowl, and instead we're talking about quarterback rankings and Bo Nix being disrespected again. Yeah, the Sean Payton hate and the Broncos' natural East Coast bias against them, that plays into it, but we all read the takeaways on Bo Nix. We read the scouting reports even before the Broncos drafted him, Chad. There were harsh things said about him, and the same people, just like Sean Payton, they have an ego, and they don't want to admit they were wrong, and they will take it to their grave, their digital grave, with a ranking like this. 18th is freaking ridiculous.
Meanwhile, Caleb Williams at 8. Okay. He did have statistically, Zach, a better season. He had more yardage,
Who
more
took their team
touchdowns.
further?
Exactly. And not only that, like who won the NFC North? Was it the Bears?
Yeah, they did. But
Either
who
way,
has a better supporting cast, Chad?
Exactly. Okay, then we get Jared Goff 9. These are the tier 2 guys. Joe Burrow 10, Lamar 11,
Lamar
Daniel
11.
Jones, for crying out loud, 12. He did have a great season before he got hurt. More power to him. Mahomes, this list is twisted when even Mahomes is down at 13. And then we get to the tier 3 schlubs, according to NFL.com and Nick Shook. Jordan Love at the top of tier 3 at 14. Brock Purdy, guys. Brock Purdy was given higher ranking than Bo Nix at 15. Aaron Rodgers, even higher than Bo Nix at 16. Baker freaking Mayfield, who started off the season with a bang and then fizzled badly. And Bo Nix at 18, and even Jalen Hurts can't get any love. CJ Stroud at 20. And then here's what they actually said. Here's what Shook actually wrote about Bo Nix real quick, Zach. Bo Nix didn't find a true sense of consistency until after Thanksgiving, diluting his overall 2025 resume. Still, if what we saw from Nix down the stretch is a preview of his future, Broncos fans have plenty of reason to be excited. Now, let's say that this was Caleb Williams.
People named Nick.
He'd be saying he saved his best ball for down the stretch, Zach, for when it mattered most to justify a higher ranking. Bo Nix, it's like, oh, cool. Look at what he did. I wonder what it means for the future. It's doesn't make any sense to me, dude.
Damn, you stole my thunder because I was going to say, Chad, scroll up and see what they say about Caleb. I guarantee the argument doesn't hold up. And if I said it under my breath, but what is it with people named Nick who hate on the Broncos? Nick Wright, Nick Shook. They can't get it. They can't get it right. No pun intended. What steadily improved throughout his first season under Ben Johnson and produced some incredible heroics in the postseason, powering an unbelievable Do you hear the way the descriptive writing and the superlatives and the way they describe him? But what do they say about Bo Nix? Broncos fans have a reason to be excited. If anything, if what he showed in the second half of the season, thank you for telling me I have a reason to be excited. I had a reason to be excited, though, in the first half of the season. I had to be a reason to be excited in 2024. I don't need you to tell me, and I don't need you to get on the Caleb Williams train to justify any of these takes. Again, sickening.
Perhaps I'm a sucker for recency and hyperbole.
Perhaps.
Let's just say perhaps
at least
you are
self-aware.
A sucker. Yeah. Well, you want to talk about incredible heroics. Again, Caleb Williams, he's right up there with Bo Nix in terms of the fourth quarter comebacks and the heroics and all that. But if you're going to credit one quarterback for such achievements, don't omit it in the arithmetic and analysis on the other. Papa Bear, good to see you, big dog. Thank you for the super chat. He said, good evening, Broncos country. Received my shirt. Thank you. Dope, dude. Hope you like it. Hope you like the Mount Rushmore t-shirt that I'm glad to hear it arrived. It's great to see you. We also have checking in here. We don't have Scott with us tonight, so we're going to do the best we can. But Eric jumped in before we even went live. Eric Holt with the generous super chat. Thank you, big dog. And want to invite you, become a member on YouTube. We need you, big dog. He says, hey, guys, it's been a minute. Just wanted to reflect for a moment. Last time Denver was in a playoff game that our QB2 had to play major snaps was in 1990 against the Bills, a 10-7 with Gary Kubiak. What a ride. Yeah. Kub had to step in. That's right. Yeah, 1990. Look, Jarrett Stidham, Zach, he got put into a real tough situation. I feel for him and all that. Very unique, high pressure, short notice, all that stuff. But he's also kind of the reason they lost the game, dude. I mean, there are other factors. There's other factors. Sean Payton's decision on 4th and 1, foregoing the points, 2 missed field goals by Will Lutz, and then the elements. So everyone can kind of decide what percentage of the pie of that loss, Zach, is consumed by Jarrett Stidham. But I would say probably thanks to his 2 turnovers and just nothing in the second half, 50% at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think the determining factor here is the answer to this question. Who is the one that committed the two-hand fumble? Wasn't Sean Payton. It wasn't anybody else except for Jarrett Stidham. And that two-handed fumble, and I say it only half jokingly because it makes me absolutely maddened to think about, but that turnover led to the Patriots deciding victory in the game. If it wasn't for that, a turnover that I don't think Bo Nix would have committed, the Broncos might not have lost that game. And also, Chad, like you mentioned, Jarrett Stidham had the ball in his hand multiple times in the fourth quarter, down a field goal. I don't care about the elements. You could have led the Broncos down the field just like Bo Nix would have, assuredly. So, yeah, we can slice the pie, and there's a little slice for everyone, but the biggest slice here, it's got to go to the quarterback.
Eric's second super chat says, and thank you again, Big Dog, says, my ideal offseason would be sign linebacker Devin Lloyd, Najee Harris on a 1-year prove-it deal, the running back, trade second-round picks for Jamison Williams, and draft Kenyon Sadiq, the Oregon tight end. Your thoughts? Well, I will tell you that I love Devin Lloyd. I would love to see Devin Lloyd in Denver playing alongside Dre Greenlaw. Like, that would get me excited. Najee Harris, I'm out on that. Zach, I'm out for trading trading second-round picks for Jamison. But I really do like Kenyon Sadiq. I think he's got, Zach, some interesting upside. And he could be there as an option for Denver at 30 overall.
Yeah, Eric, thank you for the super chats, plural. We really appreciate the support, especially now in the offseason. I got to be honest, though, the main part I like here that I agree with is drafting Sadiq, but it's so tough, and I say this at least every pod, and I'll say this for a little while longer. It's so tough to project how the Broncos are going to go or where the Broncos are going to go in the draft before even free agency gets here. If they sign a tight end or they stick with Evan Ingram, they might not draft Sadiq, but I do like the idea. You cannot have too many weapons for Bo Nix, obviously the Oregon connection, and he's a genuine playmaker with the ball in his hands. He can help the offense. He's not just a hypothetical like Caleb Lohner. Devin Lloyd, I wouldn't mind, but he's going to require a big contract, Chad, and I would rather that money first and foremost go to a receiver, a running back. You mentioned Najee Harris. I've never been a fan of him at all. He's coming off an injury now. You want to pay Breece Hall? Fine. You want to pay Tyler Algier? Fine. You want to pay Kenneth Walker? Fine. That's where the money should go, helping out Bo Nix.
Well said. And I think, you might not be able to find as great a linebacker as Devin Lloyd, especially what he brings to the table as a coverage linebacker. But you could find even just bringing back Alex Singleton and going back to the draft depends on what Lloyd's looking for out there on the market, but he's going to get a fat contract. And with the other needs, Zach, free agency, it's about filling the immediate roster needs, right? And so just today, before we went live, in fact, around 5:00 local time, I published, I ranked it's an article ranking the Broncos offseason roster needs from the least to the most crucial. And I ranked inside linebacker near the top of the most crucial, but it's behind wide receiver, and I listed running back as number one, not wide receiver. I listed running back. So inside linebacker is something that they got to get a handle on, but it has to take a little bit in terms of priorities, Zach, backseat to the skill positions on offense, receiver and running back.
Yeah, I think you have it ranked correctly there. We can both agree on, and it's easy to say that inside linebacker is the biggest defensive need for the Broncos going into the offseason, but I would slot it in there behind running back and receiver, but ahead of tight end perhaps, depending on, again, what they do with Evan Ingram. They have to decide. Maybe, Chad, if all else fails, they can fall back on Sternad, who won't come back unless he wants a starting job, but if they don't fill that starting role opposite Greenlaw, he'd be a cheap alternative.
Yeah. I just have a hard time if they're deciding on the two free agent linebackers, their own two free agents. I just don't see them even at his advancing age. I mean, Alex Singleton's going to be 33 this year because of the team captain thing and because of what he overcame with the cancer and just the culture and the locker room thing. I think if push comes to shove, they're going to prioritize bringing Singleton back as opposed to Sternad, because Sternad wants that assurance he's the starter, and he's not going to get that in Denver if Singleton comes back as well. Now, if they're at a point, Zach, where they're like, you know what, Singleton, you served us well. Thank you for your contributions, but Father Time is undefeated. We'll catch you on the flip flop. Then they could totally go toward Justin Sternad and give him a nice deal and let him be the starter next to Dre Greenlaw, which honestly, Zach, would probably, from a football perspective, actually be the better thing for the Broncos because of the age differential.
Well, the cancer might change it, obviously, and it's a huge uh, battle and hurdle that he overcame. But you mentioned him being a team leader or a locker room guy as a reason why he might not, or he might be back. I watched this team trade Von Miller. You're talking about a future first ballot Hall of Famer, Broncos legend, Super Bowl MVP. If they can do that, I think they can let Alex Singleton walk or at least shop around the NFL. But at least we can agree on this. In a fallback scenario, if they don't get Devin Lloyd or another linebacker on the open market, maybe they look to trade for one. They can re-sign Singleton or re-sign Sternad and have a plug-and-play starter next to Dre Greenlaw.
Well said. Sam Bam, good to see you, big dog. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Sam.
Your t-shirt should be there any day now, brother. So let us know when that arrives. He says, evening, guys, 26 days until March 11th when the new league year starts, as well as free agency, right? And 70 days until the draft. I hope Bo's ankle continues to heal. Go Broncos. Yeah, I mean, he'll be back by May. He should be good to go. But yeah, so the new league year opens March 11th, but the legal tampering window, Zach, we get a 2-day run up before the official kickoff. So really things are going to start popping as far as the signings and whatnot. March 9th, teams can in 5 days on the 17th begin applying franchise tags and whatnot. So some of these players out there, Zach, that we might have an interest in, like the George Pickens and the Breece Halls and even the Kenneth Walkers, that's when some of those dominoes might start falling.
It used to be where a majority of the moves happened on day one of free agency back in the day. And then it used to be where the majority happened over the legal tampering period. Now that stuff gets leaked and reported and wrapped up, Chad, coming out of the combine, even before the legal tampering period opens. So that's the good thing right now. We're in a lull on the calendar, but it's going to start ramping up with the combine and all the news and rumors trickling out. It's going to be fun, Sam. And yeah, no news is good news on Bo Nix. And as long as that continues to hold, he gave a much more optimistic timeline. When the Broncos roll out their offseason program, number 10 will be out there. Can't wait for that.
And by the way, have you seen that clip from NFL Films? He was hot mic in against the Bills at the end there, and it's unclear exactly who he's talking to. But what does he say? What does he say, Zach?
He goes, "You probably won't have me next week. My ankle's blowing up or blowing out. Yeah. It's kind of indiscernible."
And you kind of see Davis Webb like turn his head. What did I just hear? You know, crapping a brick, no doubt.
Heartbreaking.
Shannon, love you so much. Bonafide Mount Rushmore superstar in the house, helping us keep the lights on. We love you. We appreciate you. She says, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Scott in Broncos country. I never take QB rankings seriously. They're always biased. This one was absurd. What do you think the chances are that the Broncos can get Casey Concepcion in round one? Very good. Very good. Now, there's some big steps, some big stops, I should say, on the pre-draft trail coming up, like the combine, what he does there, his pro days. Right now, Zach, KC is he's kind of projected back half of the first round. In fact, last 4 or 5 picks of the first round. In most of the mocks that I've done, and I've tweaked the different settings to account for randomness and this and that, he's usually there, Zach, at pick 30. So I think the odds are good, and I love this dude. Like, I would not hate it at all if Concepcion was the pick at number 30.
Yeah, Shannon, thank you so much for your support. You're quickly becoming a Mount Rushmore legend around here. We seriously deeply appreciate it, especially this time of year. I echo what Chad's saying. There's a good chance he'll be on the board, but I also, and I hate to sound like a broken record, it's so tough to project where the Broncos are going to go. I will say this: if they don't take a huge swing, Chad, I know we have a big one from Bronk waiting for us. I know I had the same reaction internally. Let me just wrap this up and we'll get to it. If they don't take a big swing on like a JJ or Jalen Waddle, if they settle for a mid-tier signing in free agency, Shannon, I can definitely see them doubling down and going with Concepcion in round one because Bo Nix cannot have enough weapons. Thank you so much for your support.
And last thing, I could come up with several different alternatives like that might be more ideal for the Broncos in round 1. Almost all of them would involve having to trade up though. So I think
Yes.
he's about as ideal as it would get for the Broncos staying at 30. So we'll monitor that situation, Shannon, as the spring kind of marches on. But we love you. Thank you. Ronk from the
Rock
tippity,
bomb.
toppity
Wow.
rope, peering
Unbelievable.
down from the Mount Rushmore. And he's
Unbelievable.
saying, wow, dude, Mike, I hope you know how much that means to us, bro. Seriously. I mean, that is
Unbelievable.
so generous, and you've long time ago became a dear member of this community and a supporter. And, you know, it really feels like, Zach, with such great support that we get from our community, Ronk, Shannon, Sam Bam, just tonight, even Eric Holt, uh, Papa Bear, Lady D, Michaela, that we're all rowing in the same boat, rowing together. That's how it feels like. And I just want you to know, Ronk, we love you. We appreciate that support. We know that you worked hard to make $400. Wherever that $400 came from, we know it was hard work and time on your part, and we do not take that for granted one bit, dude. So it's a great honor and a blessing. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I try not to let the intrusive thoughts win when we get this sort of generosity. We say I can't tell you how many times, literally, innumerable amount of times we've said thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you so much. But what I just said there was unbelievable, and I just shook my head. Sometimes it feels like it's not warranted because that's the level of generosity you display toward us. It blows me away, and I'm sure I could speak for Chad when I say that as well. Rock, you've been around, like Chad said, for a while now, day in and day out, every single podcast on here, on Twitter. You pimp the brand out. We love you for it. Thank you so much, man. Genuinely, thank you.
And one of these days, big dog, you got to make it to a meet and greet. And if we can help make that happen, you just say the word. You just say the word, because it would be great to shake your hand and hang out for a couple hours before a Bronco game. That's what these meet and greets are all about, is hanging out, getting to know each other better, celebrating the team, celebrating our community. And it would be great, dude, to have you at one of these. Coming up from Tucson to the Mile High City. We can get it done one of these days. I know it. But his message here, Zach, is good evening, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Bo Broncos. Right back at you, Ronk. Love you, bud. Seriously. We'll keep an eye out for additional questions, topics that you have in the chat here tonight. So love you, big dog. Shiloh celebrating membership for 2 months. Thank you, pal. And he's bringing up. And by the way, Shiloh, keep sending in those DMs on Instagram. I love the stuff you dig up. So don't stop doing that. But Zach, he points out here, Caleb Williams had a 58% completion percentage. That's garbage. Indeed. So as a rookie, real quick, this was 2024, of course, he completed 62.5% of his passes, which is pretty standard, pretty passable. This past season, Zach, his attempts only went up by 4. So he went from 562 attempts to 568, but his completion percentage dropped to 58.1. For context, let's just take a look, and then I'm going to serve this over to you. At Bo Nix, all right? I memorize his stats. I don't always memorize completion percentage. All right, 2024, Zach, 66.3% of his passes. 2025, 63.4%. So your thoughts for Shiloh?
There's an expression, some of you guys may know it, I know Chad does, that says facts don't care about your feelings. But for some of these people, it's reverse. Their feelings don't care about the facts. And just because his name is Caleb Williams, he gets ranked higher. Look what the author, Nick Shook, whatever his freaking name is, look what he said in the blurb, Chad. He goes, maybe I'm a sucker for hyperbole. I mean, he
And
literally,
recency.
and recency bias. He literally admits it out loud. He's not even hiding it. These people rarely do. They go on emotion. They don't go on logic. If they looked at it logically, if they broke down the tape, they would have ranked Bo Nix a lot higher. So Shiloh, you're saying that's garbage. The only reason Caleb is ranked higher is because his name is Caleb Williams and Bo Nix's name is Bo Nix. It's like the Pro Bowl. It's a popularity contest, and Bo Nix still is not sitting with the cool kids at the table.
one of these days, Zach, it's all going to feel like water under the bridge because it's going to be Bo up there with the T-shirt on and the Super Bowl champion
Yes,
hat
yes, it
hoisting the
will.
Lombardi.
Yes, it
That is
will.
going to
Damn right.
happen. And then all these
Damn right.
people, they're going to eat their hearts out. It's going to
Yes, sir.
absolutely consume them from the inside out. And it's going to be cool to be there for that when it happens. Let's see. Well, first of all, before we get to some member comments and questions here, Zach, real quick, you had an interesting article, "'Tis the Season," for chronicling what some of the bigger national publications are projecting and saying about the Broncos' free agent moves or draft. PFF had an interesting one today. What pounding the table for, was it Kenneth Walker the third?
Yeah, speaking of Bo Nix's fan club, Chad, PFF did say that Kenneth Walker would be the missing piece, quote unquote, for the Broncos. It was a list of like 5 different teams, and they linked one player to those teams. It's the missing piece to take that team to the next level. And for the Broncos, it was Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl 60 MVP. He had a season high 135 rushing yards in that game. He's been a productive back his entire career. He was drafted in 2022. Even as the author notes, though, in the piece, Chad, there's a high probability or possibility anyway that Seattle makes a push to resign Kenneth Walker. But if he does make it to the open market, and it's rare that I agree with them, I agree. The Broncos should go after and pursue him heavily. He would be a massive upgrade, both from a floor standpoint and from a ceiling standpoint in the Broncos running back room.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think he would be a great fit. In fact, I wrote about this, was it yesterday morning? 6 reasons the Broncos should go after Kenneth Walker the third, if, of course, Seattle lets him go, that is. But Patrick, good to see you too, pal, on Facebook. I
Thank you,
love
Pat.
him, but honestly, him and Hall, if they hit free agency, man, they're gonna be a pretty penny. And I'm thinking to myself, what
I'm
about
fan.
Algier? Tyler Algier, to me, he might not be from the name recognition level of either of those guys right now, but as second fiddle behind Bijan Robinson in Atlanta, man, he has done some great things. And when he was given the opportunity, Zach, to be 1,000-yard guy, he was 1,000-yard guy. Problem was that was his rookie year, and then the situation kind of changed. But he's young, unlike Walker. Walker's split for most of his career. Brees Hall, Algier has very little tread taken
Yep.
off his tires, by the way, in the NFL. So he's a freshie, and that's why I still think I kind of view him, Algier, the same way Michael Turner back in the day, playing behind LaDainian Tomlinson in San Diego, occasionally getting a carry, and always made the most of it. Finally hits free agency, has a chance to go out and be the guy, be the Jordan instead of the Pippen, Zach. And he just becomes a 1,500-yard and 15 touchdown guy, set and forget for like the next 4 or 5 years, whatever it was. I kind of see something in that same direction with Algier.
Yeah, I apologize for looking off screen. I wanted to confirm what I'm about to say. I couldn't remember. Tyler Algier has never fumbled in his career. He's as reliable as they come. Chad mentioned the lack of wear and tear on his tires. He's also like Philip Lindsay in that sense, where if you give him the ball, you know he's not going to Melvin Gordon it and cough it up and give it away. So he's explosive. He has long-term upside. And for what the Broncos need, that power back to move the chains on the early downs before bringing on RJ Harvey, if they cannot get Walker, cannot get Brees Hall, I am 1,000% okay going after Algier.
Tucson Phil in the house. We got Tucson showing up big time in the chat tonight with the
Thank you,
Ronk
Phil.
and Phil saying, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. No Scott tonight, but he will be hearing this because he has to do the edits and all that. But no surprise, Phil says, we get no respect. It's become a joke. Knicks is top 5, in my opinion. Let's just win and let them eat crow. Buck them. MHH for life, Broncos for life. That's the T-shirt I wore on Super Bowl Sunday. I wore my Buckham T-shirt proudly to the party that I went to. But you know what's interesting, Zach, is you think about Knicks as a top 5 quarterback. Well, last summer, Sean Payton made waves by saying this is a Super Bowl capable team. Now, remember, this was a Broncos team that had one winning season since 2016. They were just barely coming off it, second-year quarterback, and Sean Payton saying this team is one of the few that I've had over the years where before the season even started, I can see this is Super Bowl capable. And Zach, were it not for a freak injury, not freak in the sense of the injury itself, because he'd suffered ankles before, the freak aspect of it was how it happened and when it happened. That was kind of the freak thing. But were it not for that, that prediction of sorts, Zach, would have come true. And so his other prediction that made waves last summer about Nick's in the next couple of years becoming a top 3 or 4 quarterback, yeah, that's going to come true as well.
I don't know what bothers me more. The fact that we're talking about it still, I mean, or the fact that it's coming from the same cast of characters, that no matter what Bo Nix does, he can win a Super Bowl. He can throw 6 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, win Super Bowl MVP. The Broncos can go undefeated. He can have the best season of all time, and he would still have these detractors and these haters saying this crap about him. And I don't get it. You thought we would shake that by now, making the AFC title game, but even then, something had to happen, like you talked about, Chad. The ammo now, because the Broncos lost in that game, people forget if it wasn't for Bo Nix, the Broncos don't even make that game. But yeah, Phil, it's really no surprise that the Broncos are the Rodney Dangerfield of the NFL. They're never getting any respect, man. We have to just lean into it now. So let them hate.
Let them hate. And if there was ever any doubt in anyone's heart within Broncos country how crucial Bo Nix actually was to those 14 wins, AFC crown, number 1 seed, and playoff win, well, you saw in the AFC title game, his absence reflected exactly how crucial he is to this whole equation. But Phil, thank you, pal. I want to grab this from Glenn. I'm going to read you off screen, big dogs. It's a long one. Good to see our friend from down under, from Oz, saying good morning. Other than Kendall, it seems all American Knicks are okay. Other than Nick Kendall, seems all other American Knicks are what would you say, Zach?
What does it say? Let me see.
I'll just say eggplant. Okay. If Sternad and Singleton are to move on,
They're
what do you
phalluses.
think? Yes, about pairing Greenlaw with 2 blue chip rookies. The talent pool is stacked. Allen, Hill, Trotter, Golday, Rodriguez, Lawson, York, Barton, Perkins, Betcher. Don't forget about him. Tight end wise, I'm not a fan of Sadiq, he says. We can add 2 system-fitting tight ends from rounds 2 through 5. I would couple them with Njoku. Jolie, by the way, it's not Justin Jolly. That's my bad. The Senior Bowl rosters that I was given with my credential a couple weeks ago, they don't offer pronunciation guides. I looked at it and I thought it's just Justin Jolly. It's just Justin Jolie. Anyway,
I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah, what do you think, Zach, overall, his thoughts about going hard on linebacker and tight end?
If it's a player's name we can't pronounce, you know the Broncos are going to draft him, Chad. I think that's the universe's law. I don't have any really individual opinions on inside linebacker. Listen, can they cover and can they stay healthy? If the answer is yes to those 2 questions, I want them on my team, but I don't want them on my team at the expense of or before adding to Bo Nix's supporting cast. Again, it's going to be my standard answer going forward, but I want to see what the Broncos do on the open market before I answer these draft questions on a micro level.
By the way, love Glenn, love your draft enthusiasm. Keep it coming hot, big dog. Ronk also gifting 20 MHH YouTube memberships in the chat because he is a living legend in our midst right now. Thank you, big dog. And we hope all 20 of those awesome folks that just got gifted a membership, that we earn that they keep it going after their first 30 days. So thank you for that, big dog. Ralph Bracegirdle, when it comes to the running back free agent pool, he said Travis Etienne, Zach, is who he would prefer, which, I mean, he would definitely be a upgrade over what the Broncos had. Look, RJ Harvey could still develop, Zach, into a very, very productive running back between the 20s, but his down-to-down consistency was nil. Like, it was either going to get blown up, go for a loss, or he's going to take it 50 yards. And you just can't operate an offense that way. And it put way too much pressure on Bo. And even that play that Bo got hurt on, I mean, Sean Payton probably learned a lesson. You don't want to be too tentative. You don't want injuries to like rob you of your courage and your all that. But at the same time, that should have been a handoff to a back that could pick up the yardage and get you in the position relative to the hash marks where you wanted the angle for the field goal, all that stuff, which is what that play was about. Etienne would be better than what the Broncos had post J.K. Dobbins injury, Zach, but I'm not sure I like him more than Algier, Walker, or Breece Hall.
Yeah. You exactly were in my head in that sequence, Chad. That's what I was thinking as well. He's an upgrade on what the Broncos had post Dobbins injury. I would look in that case. I think they're relatively comparable. I would look in that case to bring back J.K. Dobbins while also double dipping in the draft with another running back. Because if you're going to the ETN level, that means you struck out on the top three, but the running backs that Chad mentioned. At that point, I'm just bringing back Dobbins, who'd be cheaper. He knows the system. And listen, he was a damn good running back when he was healthy. People forget he was the NFL's 5th leading rusher. He was going to be easily a 1,000-yard guy, Pro Bowl type player. So I'd look to bring him back if they strike out on the top guys.
Dude, I still think he should be part of it. Even if they go out and spend and get a Breece Hall, a Walker, an Algier, I still think they should talk to JK about coming back, another 1-year deal, $3-4 million bucks, maybe more because of what he showed as a veteran. And it's like, hey, you're going to co-lead the rushing attack. It's going to be you and Algier, or it's going to be you and Breece or whatever. And then RJ Harvey, the pressure comes off him to be that guy. And it frees him up, Zach, to be that weapon in the passing game and use him in the gadgets, use him in the red zone. So I think there's a path for the Broncos to go out and get a guy and bring back J.K. Dobbins. And that's what I hope to see. George, good to see you, pal, on Facebook. Thank you for the support, brother. Saying great pod, guys. Thank you. MHH for life, Broncos for life. Hit the thumbs up. Really good to see you, big dog. Phil also wants to know, what do you guys think about getting Walker from Green Bay? I believe he is a free agent, Zach.
I think if you're talking about Quay Walker, Phil, he's a little washed. If they already have maybe potentially one of those guys in Singleton, they might bring back. Dre Greenlaw is getting to that point as well with his injury risks. If there's one free agent linebacker that I'm crazy about, it's Devin Lloyd. Otherwise, they should look to fill that position in the draft.
Yeah, he's a free agent. Well, I don't think they did his 5th year. Yeah, they didn't pick up his 5th year option, so he's a free agent. Last season, 128 tackles, Zach, 2.5 sacks. Just talking about Quay Walker real quick. 5 passes that were broken up. No turnovers or takeaways over the preceding 2 seasons. But he's an interesting guy. I wouldn't completely, not to disagree with Zach, he's a guy I would look at after I exhausted. Well, first of all, I got to figure out, am I bringing back either Singleton or Sternad? But once I answer that, are we going to try and splurge on a Devin Lloyd? Quay Walker could be interesting, but I don't necessarily think, Zach, they need to go spend hard on linebacker. Bring back one of the guys that already knows the system and allocate that money to build the nest around Bo. Real quick, though, Vin's been waiting like a patient boy. Thank you so much, big dog, for the super chat. Thank you for being a member. Anything you got to say, we'll keep an eye out for it in the chat, brother. So thank you very, very much. And I'm trying to make sure we don't miss too much on the star side of things here. Let me see real quick. Joe Allen on Facebook, Denver needs a run game, period. I think the Broncos defense will be as good as it was this year. I just think the Broncos need to get more explosive on the offensive side. Zach, what was that? I saw it on Twitter, so I'm sure you've seen it. The Broncos had compared to the other playoff teams, very poor ranking on plays that went above 20 yards last season offensively, especially relative, again, to the number of teams.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I'm not sure.
I'll see if I can find it. Oh, we got Scott in the house. Yeah, buddy. Scott's in the house. Good to see you. Good to have you. All right. I'm going to see what's up with the members real quick here before we get going. I'm going to start at the top here. Say hello and give the members some love. String Guy Raj, Good evening, all. I really don't want to trade for George Pickens if the Cowboys tag him. $31 million a year, plus we'd have to give up draft picks. It's just too much for one player. I would get Hall and Lloyd in free agency, Zach.
Go for it. I wouldn't be opposed to that. But in this hypothetical, does the money that Lloyd's getting, could it go to another receiver or a receiver instead? If it could, or a trade for one and to take on the contract, if it could, that's where my priority lies. Like Chad broke it down perfectly earlier. The priority list is receiver, running back, and then inside linebacker, and then maybe tight end.
As time marches on for me, I'm like Algier, Walker, Hall in terms of running back, how I covet and rank them. But dude, I'm telling you, Devin Lloyd, he is a force to be reckoned with. And if he's available, the Broncos got to at least sniff around that and see what it would take. Because him next to Dre Greenlaw, I mean, that's assuming Dre could stay healthy. Oh boy, oh boy. We got M. Black saying, I don't even really want George Pickens anyway. Any receiver that comes from the Steelers is insane. You got a fair point there, brother. Keith saying, Broncos country, let's freaking go. Bo's coming out this season in what I'm going to call Super Saiyan mode.
Super
LOL.
Super Saiyan.
What does that mean?
It's a Dragon Ball Z thing.
Okay.
And I feel like a nerd for knowing that.
Yeah, you nerd, but thank goodness for you, because I wouldn't know what our boy Keith was talking about here. But he follows that up with our receiver room ranked 31st in the NFL, man. We need a playmaker in our receiver room. I say tight end, he says. Wide receiver, we need to get after that hard. Tight end, for me, on the skill position side, important though it is, priority, Zach, though it is, top 4 priority in my opinion, it takes a backseat to running back, then wide receiver. Just because I think if you're looking at it from a what can we do to best insulate and boost Bo in year 3 and the offense overall, I think it really is that consistency of the ground game. Because if you could imagine, Zach, as things were rolling during the season up until week 10, the Broncos, when J.K. Dobbins went down, they had just won their 7th straight game. They were rolling, right? But the offense was still kind of going up and down, a little bit of inconsistency, started finding its stride down the stretch. Imagine if they would have had J.K. along with that stride. Like, they would have been absolutely tough to handle. Bo Nix, it would have taken a lot of the pressure off him. And that's part of what I think helped Bo Nix grow. Ironically, Zach, that's part of what kind of how things work. Serendipity in the NFL is that injury to JK. Yes, it did put more pressure on Bo Nix, but it forced him to grow a little bit, maybe a little bit faster. And I think that did redound to the Broncos' benefit overall, but it may have played a role in how his season ended just a couple games too early.
The ironic thing is that Stooge, who wrote up Bo Nix at 18, Chad, he goes, after Thanksgiving, Bo Nix got better. After Thanksgiving would be after they lost J.K. Dobbins and when he didn't have a running game, because R.J. Harvey wasn't nearly comparable. He gave his all and he was admirable, but he was not J.K. Dobbins. So it's funny that he doesn't pay attention to the actual tape. He jumps on the hype train. He gets with what's fashionable, the current fad, and that current fad about Bo Nix is to dump on him. So that's what we saw. I don't want to react when we read these articles, Chad, but every time they get under my skin, it's ridiculous.
I know, but at the same time, it's like, hey, on one hand, I almost am like grateful for this stupid takes because it helps us pass the time in the off season, if nothing else. All right. So there is some utility there at the very least. Ridiculous though the take may be. Jordan Lewis, dear member, saying Bo will continue to get dissed by the national media, but dude is a winner and has more wins than any QB in his first 2 seasons. Yeah, he tied Russell Wilson. Those 2 guys have the most wins. 24 wins is the most by any quarterback through their first 2 seasons. So he's right there, dude. And I'm stoked for what the future holds.
You know what bothers me? It's why I was sighing, is that if it wasn't for a freaking leverage penalty that's called once every 100 games or whatever, Bo Nix would have set that record. It would have been nice. Not that it means much. It's very superficial, but just the fact that Russell Wilson was his predecessor, and it would have been nice for Bo to have that record, but kind of frustrating.
That it would. Sue Gibson, good to see you. Todd Ostendorf, good to see you, saying chances are that, let's see, what did Chase say? What's Chase talking about? highly doubt George Pickens is leaving Dallas. And so Todd's saying chances are you're right. Dallas probably going to franchise Pickens if they can't sign him to a long-term deal. Well, we'll find out relatively soon. That window to start tagging guys, as I mentioned, Zach, is February 17th till March 3rd.
And let me tell you something. If they do sign Pickens to a long-term deal, if they do tag him at the very least, I'm picking up the phone if I'm George Paton, and I'm calling and asking, is there a price for CeeDee Lamb? Can we talk about him real quick? Can't hurt. That's all I'm saying. Can't hurt. Turn over every rock until you find that worm if you're George Paton.
Yeah, dude. I love CeeDee Lamb. I liked him. He was my favorite receiver in his class, although, in hindsight, you'd maybe do that a little bit differently, but I love him. I'd be interested in that. He'd definitely be an upgrade over what the Broncos have now, which is a low-level number 1, high-level number 2, and then a gaggle of number 3 and number 4 receivers. That
do you need a clear-cut alpha in the room? And I love Courtland Sutton, but he's not that clear-cut number 1. CeeDee Lamb or JJ or someone like that, Jalen Waddle, they would be.
Roy Osborne in the house saying, I sure hope we don't go after Pickens. Been in trouble with 2 teams. We don't need his cancer in the locker room. There's a lot to be said, Zach, for whether or not a given veteran or draft pick, for that matter, fits the culture. And that's something that the Broncos would have to kind of figure out beforehand. And Sean Payton does have a history of kind of figuring out how to fit some guys like that into his culture. But if there are other paths, take them. Tucson Phil, I see the Broncos signed future contracts on 6 players, 2 of which are running back Cody Schrader and defensive tackle Jordan Miller. Guess I missed something. I don't recognize these guys. Any info? Well, Jordan Miller is a guy who is kind of more of a, I don't know, how would you put it, Zach? Bottom of the roster, camp body kind of defensive tackle. But Cody Schrader is a guy that the Broncos brought in. What was that? Middle of December? I think they signed him off the Rams practice squad onto their 53, I want to say. And then he stayed on the 50, wherever he came from off the top of my head. I think it was the Rams. But wherever he came from, he stayed on the active roster through that game weekend. And then they waived him, signed him to the practice squad, where he basically remained.
Yeah, Phil, I think we covered this when the Broncos released their future signings after the AFC title game, but these are all players that ended the year on the Broncos practice squad, and as Chad laid out, they're pretty much just camp bodies, off-season bodies. I wouldn't hold out too much hope for both of them.
Appreciate you, brother. We also got Greg, a dear member, jumping in saying good evening to everybody. Our friend Keith Brugman on Facebook saying, rely on Dre Greenlaw's health, bring back an aging Singleton, make Sternad a starter for the first time. We need a name at the position. The biggest name out there, Keith, is, of course, Devin Lloyd in terms of what's available right now. But how much you willing to pay for a guy like that? I mean, look at what it did for the Jags. I mean, that defense this year was really, really good. I think about how hard they made it on Bo and everybody in that week. What was it? Week 16 matchup. And I go, ooh, I'd love to see him in orange and blue. And he's a Rocky Mountain guy too, hailing from Utah.
What just occurred to me too is that for years, Vance Joseph had this reputation of not being able to maximize inside linebacker play. Famously in Arizona, they had 2 high-round inside linebackers, neither of which bloomed under Vance Joseph. What happens in 2025? I cannot blaming VJ for Dre Greenlaw getting hurt or suspended, but I didn't see that leap like I was expecting. I didn't see that leap with Sternad as the starter. I didn't see it from Singleton. So my point in saying this, Keith, do you want to go all in on Devin Lloyd? And I see some other Broncos fans want him as well. You pay him a record-setting contract or close to market resetting level money. Would you want to go all in on that position, knowing you're giving him to VJ, knowing that money, like Chad said earlier, could be applied to an offensive need like running back or receiver?
By the way, Keith, the official nickname for the Ronk is the Ronk, but he's also known as the mayor of the MHH community. So there you go, big dog. That's the Ronk. Gene William, what's up, man? Been missing the show a whole bunch recently, so I apologize. You are immediately forgiven. But it's great to see you I want us to go get Alec Pierce, the Colts wide receiver with the ridiculous yards per catch average. He's a low-key stud. He is, Zach, but if you're looking for that guy that changes the equation, he can make an impact, deep down the field guy, but he's not that explosive game changer that you feel like this team could really use to pair with Cortland.
If you want to sign Pearson free agency, then you better use your first round pick on a receiver, because that can't be the big splash move you make in the offseason at receiver is just Alec Pierce. He's not a tier 1 level guy like anyone I mentioned, Waddle or AJ Brown, George Pickens, any of these players that are either up for trade perhaps or up for signing on the open market. So if that's their plan to double dip with Alec Pierce, who's a speedster, he's more of a number 2, ideally like a Cortland Sutton. Once again, Gene, you need that no doubt elite alpha true number 1 stud.
No doubt. No doubt about it. Gene, it's good to see you, big dog. I hope you're doing well. Hope missing the pod means you're good busy at work and stuff's going well for you, brother. So thank you for checking in. All right, guys, we got a couple messages for you. Don't go anywhere. Then we're going to take one last look at the chat.
Another tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out MHHmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Mile_High_Huddle. If you haven't yet, please join our new MHH Discord server. The link is in the description below. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football pre-save 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, 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 very important as always, that you subscribe, you like, you share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans, just like you.
It looks like father, like son. Ralph, Pierce is intriguing, but are we allowed to have a white corner and receiver? You goofball. Yeah, Pierce is interesting. He's interesting, but he's got to fit within the context and got to understand what he's actually capable of bringing to the table. Ronk, brother, thank you so much again, man. Throwing down a top rope super chat, gifting memberships to 20 folks in the chat. We love you. We appreciate you. Hats off to you, big dog. For real, you're getting the dome effect. Love you, big dog. In fact, Mile High salute, special shout out to all the great super chat superstars and supporters, dear members. Ronk right there with top rope. Shannon,
thank you again. Thank
you. Love you. Papa Bear, Eric Holt, multiple supers, Sam Bam, Shiloh checking in, I should say. Tucson Phil, Vin, appreciate you being a member, big dog. And is that a drum kit? Dope. I think so. Or is it turntables? I think it's a drum kit. That's awesome. Ralph, Gene, love you guys. Appreciate you. George, Fox, and all the members tonight in the house. Thanks for rocking it with MHH. And Zach, it's already another week, basically, of this offseason is in the book. So, see, it's going to start moving faster and faster. But Zach and I will see you on Sunday. This is our next time together on the mic.
Have a great rest of your night, y'all. Have a great start to your weekend. We'll see you Sunday. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.